I am sure sports. You know me there, from coast to coast representing. I mean, I say this is righteous representing for Omar. You don't know, come get the sports over here from near and far. Boy. Me say I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. If me not sure, that me not say it. Know who score, that me not say it. Never know the game play, that me not say it. If me never see no game, me no know who play. For your sports news, better come over here so. For your soccer news, then come over here so. If you don't love sports, still come over here so. For the date done, you are gonna love over your son.
So when it comes on to behavior concerning football, Jamaica is decent. I am sure that if we can get all of these things done, set in place by the end of April, it gives us enough time before the World Cup campaign. Not afraid of no Brazil, no Argentina with these crapper players. We are good enough. Remember to like, subscribe, share. Listen, comment. Let me know what your thoughts are.
Trick Jerk Marinade gives your meats and vegetables authentic Jamaican jerk flavor. The spices are directly from Jamaica. Spices like jerk seasoning, allspice, Scotch bonnet pepper, fresh scallions, thyme, ginger, and garlic. The key ingredients to a great jerk marinade. 0% sugar and low in sodium. You want to try it?
All right. Well, good evening. Welcome back to the platform. I am Manning's Man. Hope you're having a top evening. First, let me apologize to you. I know some of you are still probably scrambling, trying to put things together because we had to change the time, but it's going to be worth your while. We always begin by encouraging you to stop and pause and take some time to just give thanks for life. You're alive, you have hope to live, hope to continue, and hope to believe. We say, look to the hills from whence cometh your help. Your help comes from the Creator, the one who made the heavens and the earth. I'm very excited about this interview we're going to do as we continue to look at the Caribbean's opportunity of having two teams in the 2026 World Cup. Some people believe that it is nonsensical to believe, but we call it having faith. And if we believe it, then we can achieve it. It starts with believing. And so we have a couple of persons today. We have our regular guest. He's also an Arsenal fan, which makes him a smart person. If you support Arsenal, obviously, you're going to operate at a higher level of intelligence. It just goes with the Gunners, right? I don't know about Manchester and Liverpool. Don't know why you'd support those teams, but I don't want to be stoned, so I won't discuss that for too long. But I'm going to invite Andre on, and then he's going to invite our very special guest with us. If you are from the Caribbean, you have to watch this, all right? So all our friends in Trinidad and Tobago, those in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the St. Lucians, those in the diaspora, you need to tune in. You need to share it with others. Also hit the like button and also subscribe to that platform. So here is Mr. Andre Fortune, and he's going to introduce our guest. How you doing, sir?
Doing wonderful, man. Couldn't be better. You the way you tied Arsenal to intelligence was really good. That was really
good. All right, so take it away. It's your time, man. So you take it away, and I'm just here to be your support in any way that I can.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Camara David is the General Secretary of the Caribbean Football Union. He's from Trinidad and Tobago. Had have an extensive background. He was the previous General Secretary of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association. He has a FIFA Masters in International Master in Management, Law and Humanities of Sports. He has a Bachelor of Science degree in Economics and a Sports Management degree from the University of West Indies. So he's a guy with a very good background in terms of the position that he holds. Anything else about himself, I think he'd do it more justice than I would. So if you Camara, welcome. Do you want to add anything to that?
He supports Arsenal, right?
It was going so well up until the Arsenal part. Yeah.
I could guess Manchester United, right?
That's the only club there is to support, man. That's the only club there is to support.
You know what? He actually supports Dwight York. And so that's it. You know, if there was no Dwight York, he'd be supporting Arsenal. So we will forgive you.
Gotcha.
I'll send you a membership application when we're done.
Okay. It'll automatically go to the trash. So
I don't know. Thanks for coming on, for taking the time to come on this afternoon. The little mix up with the time zones. Hopefully we can be productive here still this afternoon. What we want to discuss, because of your time crunch, as you are aware, as the General Secretary of the Caribbean Football Union, I'm sure you're aware of what I consider to be a massive opportunity that's ahead of us in terms of the 2026 World Cup qualifiers. We find ourselves in a situation where the World Cup is in North America, and 3 countries in North America is hosting, and FIFA has decided to offer 3 additional opportunities plus 2 potential playoff spots. And from what happened is I started to hear a conversation. You might be aware of this. You could confirm this. There are some islands in the Caribbean who have decided to not attempt to qualify for one reason or the other. And some of it may be valid. They may not have a player pool, and maybe some is considered. I don't know. That's what is being discussed. I would like to know your thoughts in regards to the opportunity that exists for the 2026 and how the CFU is working with other Caribbean islands to help support that effort.
Yeah, no problem. So thanks for having me on the show, guys. It's a pleasure to be here to discuss, Caribbean football. Let me first start by saying that I personally don't know any country or island within the Caribbean that does not want to qualify for the 2026 World Cup. Because as you said, it's probably the best opportunity that we here in the Caribbean have to qualify for World Cup. In that, the powerhouses are already automatically qualified in the US, Canada, and Mexico. And then there's an increase in the number of slots for CONCACAF teams to qualify. So as it is now, I think in history, this is the best chance to qualify for a World Cup. So I think all 25 FIFA members in the Caribbean in the CFU would be wanted to jump on any slim of hope, any chance to qualify for a World Cup. Yeah,
that's great news.
That's
great news.
Yeah. So in terms of what we are doing here at the CFU, so our strategic plan 2.0 is directly tied towards qualifying for more international football tournaments, qualifying for more FIFA tournaments, whether it be senior level or at the youth level, and both boys, girls, senior men, and women. We have been making some serious strides in the women's game. I think, obviously the Jamaica and the Reggae girls have been doing such a tremendous job putting the Caribbean on the map in terms of the women's game, and Haiti still has an outside chance of qualifying as well. And on the men's side, we in the youth side of the games, we had quite a number of Caribbean teams making it to the knockout rounds in just the recent under 20 qualifiers, and Dominican Republic actually qualified. They're also a Caribbean Football Union member. They qualified for the under 20 World Cup. Yeah. So what are we doing here at the CFU to ready up our teams to qualify? Well, as it is now, we are providing a lot of support.
So let me interrupt you for a moment and ask you. You mentioned something quite important, and I think if we can back up a little bit.
Okay, sure, no problem.
You mentioned the CFU strategic plan, and I've read that, and in your strategic plan, for example, you have two as one of your goals, 2 teams to qualify for the Women's World Cup. You just mentioned Jamaica qualify, and you wish and we hope that Haiti qualify.
Yeah.
How important, and just to make sure that everybody understand what we're talking about, how important is a strategic plan along with a long-term development plan? And we also, and just for clarity, there's an implementation piece of it. How important is it to the islands in the region towards their effort in qualifying?
So I actually lecture at the University of the West Indies, and I lecture in both sport finance and strategic management. So asking me the importance of a strategic plan, I could go the entire show telling you, but a strategic plan gives direction. People will be working in any sort of administration organization, and they just be coming to work and doing whatever it has to be done or whatever. You have different departments doing different things. A strategic plan, most importantly, allocates and provide direction to the entire organization. So everyone within the organization, from the middleman to the managers to the employees, wherever, they all know the direction and they all know what sort of goals and objectives they have to achieve to obviously realize the ultimate mission and vision of whatever organization that is. So it's no different in sport and in sporting organization. A strategic plan provides direction, and it provides direction on the field, it provides direction off the field. So it's vitally important that I know FIFA has been doing a lot of programs as well to assist member associations within the region to create a strategic plan that would obviously have long-term, short-term, medium-term goals and objectives. So in terms of qualifying for a World Cup, in terms of any sort of thing, any goal objective that you have, a strategic plan puts everything in perspective, and it more or less guides you along that way.
Let me ask this, Andre. The strategic plan for the CFU, is there any engagement from the 25 territories in it? Meaning, do you meet with each individual territory or collectively to help them to create their own strategic plan so that it lines up with the overall CFU plan, come in alignment with CONCACAF and then with FIFA on a whole, like you just said they have one?
Right. So our member associations are in a very fortunate position in that they are members of three world or three international bodies: the CFU, CONCACAF, and FIFA. All right. So you would find different activities and programs that are rolled out by either three of the entities. They all align with whatever that particular MA strategic plan is. Okay. So our strategic plan, or whenever FIFA or CONCACAF or us, when we do a strategic plan, we have to engage all our stakeholders meaning our member association. So we don't just come out and say, hey, this is the CFU strategic plan, this is what we want to achieve. Here, members, take a look at it. No, in the whole collecting of data, in the primary process of putting together a strategic plan, we basically had one-on-one calls and discussions with each of our 31 member association. The reason why 31 is that 6 of them are not FIFA members, but they are CONCACAF and CFU members. So we actually have 31 member associations. So we meet and we discuss with each of our 31 members, asking them questions like, where do they see themselves, right? How do they see the CFU assisting them to achieve their goals and objective? Where do they see the CFU? Where do they want the CFU? What direction they want the CFU to go? So it's a lot of collaboration and discussions behind any strategic plan at our level.
Do you need some time to cancel your appointment?
The time is almost done. Because, yeah.
So
But
let me ask you about but the strategic plan is an interesting one. Obviously, the CFU has one that is easy to read.
Yeah,
it's clear. It's a well put together document. If I look should I be able to find a strategic plan of a particular MA if one was put together?
Most MAs would more or less publish their strategic plan on their website, their form of communication. So you should be able to find most MAs their strategic plan on their website, and it's not any document that it's in secrecy or anything like that.
Right.
So if it's not there, it's a simple email or whatever to the MA to get a copy of their strategic plan. Sorry.
If you work for an MA at the moment and you are charged with the task of putting together a strategic plan, who would you identify as the stakeholders for putting that together? You mentioned just now that you would collaborate with everybody, right? Who would you see? Is the business community
So they're all stakeholders. You more or less have their core stakeholders or primary stakeholders, and then you'd have your secondary stakeholders. So for a member association, one of the core and there's several core stakeholders is your membership.
Right.
That's one. As the executive committee or general secretary or the administration, whoever more or less elects you to be in those positions, they are more or less, you would tend to say, your important stakeholders, your membership. All right. From there, you would have your players. And then you would have your clubs, which in some member associations are part of their membership already. And then you would have, your staff there also part of your stakeholders. And then outside of the member association, you have like the CFU, CONCACAF, FIFA, you have the business community, and all those other stakeholders. So those stakeholders that have some sort of direct or indirect direct influence or interest into your member association, you would consider them as stakeholders.
Let me just ask this one, because I know you mentioned the success of the Jamaica female team qualifying for 2 consecutive World Cup. Haiti has the opportunity to do that now, and I know that there is a Women's Gold Cup that is supposed. It's in
2025, I think,
2025. Okay, but part of the strategic plan, like you said, is I don't know if it's the amount of team that qualify on the female side at the different age group level, or to get more female football being played just across the Caribbean. All right. So because I know, in the last 2 to 3 years, Jamaica just started a league, and they don't have enough players in the league, but they had to start something. And I'm wondering if part of the strategic plan is to find ways where member associations are playing, if players could move to play in those leagues where there's no league in their island.
So you'd appreciate a lot of ideas. A lot of ideas have been thrown forward in how we could help further develop football on the women's side in the game. I'll actually engage or invite you guys to invite one of our leads in women's football here, the CFU, in Michael Brand. She's been doing a tremendous job in
Mikel.
promoting women's football. Michael Brand, yeah. I could talk to her and we could see if we could bring
Okay.
her as a guest on one of these days.
Mhm.
But yeah, so it's quite alarming in that CONCACAF recently did a survey on just football in the different islands, and when you look at the amount of girls under the age of 18 registered to play in the 31 islands, it's just over 8,000 girls under 18 playing football in the region, and that's quite alarming. And one of the objectives here, the CFU, what we want to do is try to double that figure by 2027, right? And that's for the next Women's World Cup. So we have a number of programs that we would want to roll out in the pipeline, but thus far we have had different online seminars, different programs, and different uh, uh, different initiatives that we roll out from time to time to try to help promote the women's game, because there's so many things, stigmas attached to the women's game, that as Caribbean people you would appreciate. Caribbean parents from back then, they don't want their girl try to be playing football. Football, there's no opportunity in football, and all these different types of messaging that goes out to that goes out in the women's game. And we're trying to change that, because you find now, one, there's a lot of opportunity for a girl to play football for her national team and get opportunities to go study abroad in North America. I mean, over 95% of the girls that play football in the Caribbean for some sort of national team, their main objective is to try to get some sort of scholarship to go abroad to study and to continue playing football. So once we get past that hurdle, you would definitely see a growth in the player pool for women, and for girls playing football. And as you rightfully said, Jamaica just started up a league, and one of the challenges that a lot of MEs, member association, and even the smaller one tend to face is that the player pool is largely quite small. They don't have any sort of competitive or lengthy league happening. So the player exchange thing is a great idea, but there's a lot of different challenges that come with that. At that young age, bringing a girl to play across in another island where she's going to stay, and with the women's game, it's quite different in terms of security and safety and making sure they get a good education and all these sorts of things to take into consideration.
I asked that because, and you raised some valid point on the female side, but I don't see the same. I don't see it happening so much on the male side, because many of the islands also, we have the Nations League coming up, and many of the islands have still not yet had a league,
Yeah.
including Trinidad. Jamaica is in their third league since the pandemic. And
Yeah.
I know we have had a couple of St. Lucians and Guyanese, just a few who have come over. I know we have someone from Suriname over now, Turks and the Caicos coming over. And, Trinidad and Jamaica, for the most part, have been like top two nations. Haiti is probably there, but the rivalry, especially from the Caribbean Cup time, has always been between Jamaica and Trinidad predominantly. I mean, they have qualified for the World Cup. But just recently we were speaking with Kevin Molina, and we were saying the same thing. Why, when there's no league in one member association and there is a league in the other member association, know that there's international games coming up, the CFU don't put something together where there is easy movement of players to keep them active, so that the entire Caribbean can grow at the same time, instead of just Jamaica alone playing a league and everybody else is just waiting on international competition, which means sure failure.
But I think more importantly, that would be, while that's a good idea, that's a fix, right? That's a fix for the situation. Why is it that some islands, and you mentioned Trinidad and Tobago just now, why Trinidad and Tobago does not have a league at the moment?
Yeah. So if you've been following in the media, there's a bit of pulling and tugging with the. I think that now normalization committee and the Pro League there and the Super League there. But I think that the last that I heard, they actually want to kick off at the end of this month. And recently, Coach Angus Eve came out, and he was asking for support from the different bodies or stakeholders to try and get the league up and running, because the local players are at a disadvantage, And back to the idea of the player exchange, the clubs, they're private clubs, so
before you
it's
go there,
nothing.
before you go there, Camara, in talking about the league, and we got away from and I happen to think that this is part of the solution. So I'm going to ask you a question, and it's directly tied to what you're talking about and what you just mentioned and where you're going. Okay, how important it is to involve the business community in the building of a strategic plan.
Well, as you can see in Europe, a lot of sponsorship is more or less propelling a lot of football, or probably all football worldwide. The World Cup just recently ended, and I know for Russia 2018 as well, FIFA rating quite some healthy monies from sponsorship. So sponsorship and the business community is pretty much vital in any part of the world, and in the sustainability and the survival of any football league in the world, right? And also the government, and Trinidad definitely, along with some other countries, have been benefactors of government support. But involving the business community in football is key and paramount to the success of. If you're talking professionally, there must be some sort of business, sponsorship and opportunities in there. So
And that
involving
is
them,
enhanced.
they're key stakeholder.
And that is enhanced if they are part of the building of the strategic plan, the opportunity for them to be
Yeah,
involved.
definitely.
So you go back to the comments by the head coach
Hmm.
about league non-existent and the players at a disadvantage. Is there, and the reason I asked about the strategic plan, is there a vision for a league? Is there so for example, most MAs that run a football league, they have a competition department, right? Do we have a competition department in Trinidad? Do you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I think there's a
Okay.
competition department there. Yeah,
And
just have
there's
to
a
change location. Sorry about that.
okay,
Yeah.
that's all right.
Yeah.
And there's a written plan, a strategy for the development of leagues and everything else.
Yeah, it's there's always, well, I shouldn't say there's always something written, but most times it's advisable to have a well documented or written strategic plan done on paper. If there's one currently at the in the Trinidad FA, I'm not sure as yet. I'm not in
Why
with
you
regards to with
you said
regards
you're
to
not sure?
the league development.
Uh-huh.
With regards to the league development, yeah. But I do know that there have been a number of discussions happening with uh, talking with stakeholders. I myself was one of the stakeholders that they interviewed when they were looking to put back this league and get football up and run, get football back up running. So yeah, they have been doing the works to get a strategic plan in place, but I don't know if they delivered it to their stakeholders or not.
Yeah. Yeah, and I understand, because I think what Andre is trying to get to is there should not need to be player exchange per se.
Yeah.
Because each association should have a league. But we had the pandemic,
Yeah.
and that was unprecedented. So in the event of a pandemic, when one association has it, how difficult it is. I know you were saying something about private clubs. So explain that to me, how difficult it is in terms of kind of having the strategic discussion with the to say, listen, here's what. Would clubs in Jamaica be willing to take, or clubs in Trinidad be open to having, especially national players or under 20 players who are inactive because there's a tournament coming up in March, in June, in July, and we don't have a league going now? How is that part of the CFU mandate, or that's just member association and private clubs really seeking to do that?
Right. So let me answer that question first by saying that do have we do have a Caribbean league that we're exploring the concept and feasibility of having a Caribbean league in the pipeline, and I'll leave it up to my president Randy Harris to discuss more on that. That's his baby, so I don't want to steal that. But when it is you talk about player exchange, there's nothing stopping a Jamaican club from taking a Trinidadian player. There's absolutely nothing. Now mandating a club to say, hey, you have to have ex Trinidadian players in your team, or you must have X under 20 players from outside in the team. That's a different ball game there. That's something that we at the CFU we can't mandate the club. I don't even think the Jamaican Federation could mandate a club to do that, right? Because at the end of the day, we're neighbors and we're friends, we're competitors on the field, right? So I wouldn't want to say, hey, we must have Trinidadian players in the team to better Trinidad football, because we're going to be competing with them for a World Cup spot. So we would want any advantage that we could get, So it's really down to the club if they see a Trinidadian player that they want to bring over because it could enhance their team, then it's really up to them. But mandating a team, that's a different ballgame.
I think, because I look at Europe and I think all of Europe is getting better because players just move. And I know it's the club that do that, right? The coaches there's a lot of movement. I think in the Caribbean, and maybe this has to come from the CFU, that we are to focus on our island, that the football is not growing. And I say that because I believe if Jamaican players were in Trinidad or in Guyana, then the leagues would be better. Mm-hmm. The coaching would grow more because you'd get to operate in a different space outside of your country. You'd learn some professionalism because now you're living in a different space. Before you move into Europe, you're getting that. And I know it cannot be mandated.
But it happens. It happens. It happens.
Really?
But yeah, it does. But again, when there's a lot other factors that come into play. It's not just as easy as you would see it in Europe or whatever. I mean, Europe does have their restrictions as well. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot more that comes into play. Like, let's for example, you talk about coaches. If I'm an owner of a club here in Trinidad and our league is up and running, and there's a Jamaican coach that I want to bring about, right? The clubs in the Caribbean, that's Jamaica and Trinidad. Jamaica is one of the top leagues, or if not the top league running in the region. They don't have budgets that stretch unlimited monies, so they have to work within their means. So bringing across a coach from Trinidad and Tobago, for example, you have to think about, all right, I have to bring this coach over here. He's probably going to cost a lot of money because, if he's one of the top coaches in Trinidad, that's one. Then probably have to sort out accommodation. Then we have to sort out, making sure all his living and personal effects down in Jamaica. So when I weigh that up against hiring a local Jamaican who's quite similar in terms of qualification, I would say, all right, let me just hire the Jamaican because it's just easier to maneuver around, So it's a lot of factors, and it just boils down to budget, which is primarily one of the major, or primarily the only constraint, and all the other opportunities for the local man there.
So Camara, we have the Youth World Cup qualifiers coming up. There's quite a few teams from the Caribbean. There's some interesting things that is going on in the region. We just saw Dominican Republic qualify for the Under-20 World Cup and the Olympic as a result of that qualification, which is, I think, is huge on their behalf. And there's a lot of interesting things in their situation. And my understanding is that they have relationship with La Liga that is helping their football. Honduras, on the other hand, seem to have a relationship with the Spanish FA. They had a youth tournament in that region to try to prepare their teams for the upcoming Youth World Cup to try to qualify.
Yeah.
In our region, that does that exist? Does that opportunity exist for teams? Because as part of your strategic plan of the CFU strategic plan, and this is in line with what Management was trying to get at just now. You would like to see 3 teams qualify from the region for the World Cup, right? So there's got to be a process for that. So is there an opportunity? Is there plans in place? Is there planning going on to say, well, okay, so the under-17 is right here on our doorstep, so it may not happen, but to have competition in the region. In the interview that you referenced just now, or Management referenced, the coach was saying that he's trying to get 2 practice games in January, but he couldn't get 2 practice games. But all, in other parts, you see federations putting things together and inviting people in. Is there any plans for anything like that? And what would prevent us from, in the region, from having competitions like that to help preparation?
Right. So, when your first part of your question with regards to, I think you said Honduras was going over to Spain, and Dominic having links with the
Liga.
The Liga in Spain as well. I think what you're talking about is a program called UEFA Assist, and what UEFA has done is that they have come into the region and actually tied regional MEs with a sister or brother MA in Europe. So there are a number of Caribbean MEs that actually benefited in one way or the other from other MEs in Europe. I know Guyana actually sent a U16 team to participate in a four nations league in, I think it was Malta, one of these European countries, against other European teams. You saw St. Lucia recently played against San Marino. I know Grenada has a relationship with the Czech Republic, and they benefit from numerous things, competition-wise, player exchanges, they get buses, they get administrative help, and all these different things. So that opportunity is there for them to access. All right.
So that's available to every MA.
That's available
to every MA in the region.
Under the UEFA Assist, I believe most of the MEs had the opportunity, and I think that's still up and running and available to member associations. Yeah. And then we here at the CFU. Sorry?
So let me ask. I want to ask. So that means like Trinidad could approach one of those UEFA nations and say, we would like to partner with you, or Jamaica could.
That has to be between UEFA come down, have an assessment with Trinidad and all these different things, and then they say, hey, okay, based on what your objectives are, XYZ, we think this might be a good partner for you to partner with, and all that happens. So I think that's been happening pre-COVID. So I don't know if there was a pause on the program since COVID or whatever, but I know pre-COVID a number of countries had benefit from that. At the CFU, we currently have under 14 competition that we run annually. We alternate between both boys and girls. So this year we're actually going to do girls under 14. Last year we did boys under 14. When you look at, especially on the girls side of things, when you look at the number of players that actually come from our under 14 tournament that goes on to play, under 15, under 17, under 20, there's a lot of players from that tournament that goes on through the youth ranks in the national team. So that is one of our major ways in how we help develop the MEs within the Caribbean, because that under 14 competition is actually the first time that an MA actually gets to go and play international football. So it's the first taste of international football, and it's right here in the Caribbean for a lot of member associations.
Why do we alternate?
So
why is it not every year?
So we try to fall in line. we fall in line with the FIFA calendar and CONCACAF calendar. So CONCACAF would alternate between under 15 boys and girls every year as well. So last year we did boys under 14. This year CONCACAF will be doing boys under 15. Right. So this year we do girls under 14. Next year CONCACAF would be doing girls under
Well,
15. And
okay.
obviously budget constraints as well for the CFU in that's we can't have two competitions rolling annually, so we're able to just do one.
Yeah. Mario Russell's asked an important question that I wanted to also find out. No, I also believe that the time when Caribbean people were into Caribbean football is when we have the Caribbean Cup. Now I know there has been no, and there was still a Gold Cup, but there was no Nations League. And I know it used to be the Shell. I think Shell used to be when I was a kid. I remember the Shell Caribbean Cup. I think
Shell, Digicel,
yeah, I'm talking about from Shell because at that time Shell I think was operating out of Trinidad, doing a lot of stuff in Trinidad, and they were the primary sponsor. Players like Leonson Lewis and Russell Latapy, all of these guys played in it against the top players in the Caribbean. Now, is there any space on the calendar for the CFU to do that, even if it is for the players who are local? So that way, the leagues in the Caribbean could take a break to play with their local squad as a means of developing, knowing that those who are in North America and in Europe will not be available, but you're building, you're having a competition for the locally based players so that when a national coach is ready to select his team, he has players who have had some exposure playing some level of international football. Is there any plans like that, or like Andre was saying, the strategic plan, the business, the private sector needs to inject cash, or is
Well,
something that people?
that's primarily the how to put it. That's one of the main reasons why we don't have a Caribbean Cup. You had Shell, you had Digicel sponsoring these competitions back then. Currently, we don't have any sponsors. When I came into the CFU in 2020, that was the COVID was just happening and all of these different things. So we kind of return into play. There are presidents, who want to explore the idea of bringing back the Caribbean Cup. I think recently, Andre Blake once said in an interview, one of his or the most memorable moment in his international career is
Yeah,
lifting, the Caribbean Cup. So it is something that we could look at. Obviously, sponsorship is the would be the driving force and factor behind us bringing back a Caribbean Cup. And once it is that it's the business community is willing to jump on board, I think we could look in the calendar for where it is we could have a Caribbean Cup happening again. But I
So,
definitely am not gonna say no to something like that.
so based on what you said earlier, right? In the CFU strategic plan, the business community was not interested in the Caribbean Cup, or were they not part of the conversation?
Well, I wouldn't say they're not interested in is their focus is elsewhere. I've spoken to some businesses within the region, and their focus has been elsewhere. COVID happened and they're looking to go back in the communities. They're looking at putting their funding in other areas. So I wouldn't say they're not interested, but I
Right.
think in the coming years, as football is kind of now starting to pick back up speed. We just had a fantastic
Mhm.
World Cup. We're gonna have World Cup, and then the World Cup in 2026 in the Caribbean. So you're gonna find that interest growing back, back in the Caribbean, because as you said, as we started off the show, it's a fantastic opportunity for Caribbean teams to make it to the World Cup in 2026. So there would be a number of businesses wanted to jump on that opportunity as well.
So FIFA's, and I know your time is running down, but I want to.
yeah,
So we talking finance here, and we talking sponsorship and whatever, but the MAs also get money from FIFA,
Yeah.
right? I think this year they for this cycle they're increasing the money by 25 or 30%. So I think each
25%.
MA is
Yeah.
probably going to get about 8 million or something like that.
Over the 4-year cycle.
Over the 4-year cycle. And some of that money is for administration and some of the money is for projects and whatever the case may be. But it's for me, I'm not a finance person, you're an economics person. So I didn't want to miss the chance. I wanted to understand a little bit about how FIFA money is, if you don't mind, is shared.
Yeah.
So I want to share at least. So the richest MA in CONCACAF, right? They collect all of their money, right? All of the projects approved and everything else, right? Which is the USA, right?
Right.
$9.7 billion, right? Could you explain that chart for me? Because there's money available, there's money approved, and then on the right side it shows you where the money goes to. But it's a little bit. Could you tell if they actually receive the funds and
So yeah, so now new World Cup cycle has just the World Cup cycle has just ended, so we enter a new World Cup cycle. So every 4 years, FIFA revisits the FIFA Forward program, and for the last 3 programs, this one being the third, they have always had an increase in the amount of monies available for member associations. What they do, they give an allocation for operations. So at the start of every year, I think you would get about 500 or 600K that goes toward administration and operations to help you basically the operational activities of the member association. And then for the 4-year cycle, there's a 2 million, or I think it's increased now. So I think it's probably 3 million. I'm not 100% sure on the FIFA for 3.0. But there's a special projects fund for that's to be used only for special projects.
Yeah,
So
on the 3.0 is 5 million
5 over
to
the
be given to
4-year
each,
cycle.
right, to
Right.
each member association to cover
Right.
operational
So
costs,
that
and 3 million
is
to
for
carry out projects.
right, and those special projects. So FIFA mandates that you must have 3 things, or you must use that special project fund, those special project funds for 3 things first. You must have a headquarters. If you don't have one, you've got to build one. You must have a stadium. If you don't have one, you've got to build one. And I think it's a technical. I think it's a technical center. Is the other
technical? So it's headquarters project, pitch project, stadium project, beach and futsal complex project, and a technical center projects.
Right. So those funds have to be allocated for those things first, right? And I think that was in the FIFA for 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. So you would have monies from 1.0 straight up to 3.0 that you could use to have those things. Once you check those boxes, then you could use those whatever remain for other things, like probably a league project. You could do it for a national team project. You could do it for elite football development project, other special projects that you could obviously approve by FIFA that you could use it for. Right. Some MAs don't have the capacity to access all of the funding for the special projects. Some of them are doing it stage by stage. Right. So it will take some time for MAs to capture all of it. And then you have the 600,000 operational monies that they get at the start of every year. In the Caribbean region, I don't know the exact percentage, but it's a very high percentage that is eaten up by airfare and travel.
Oh, that's national team and subventions.
Sorry?
That would fall under national team and
No,
subventions.
outside of that and the operational monies that they would get at the start of the year, a lot of that is eaten up in international travel, interregional travel outside of the region. A lot of that is eaten up in travel, right? And then in order to access the other 600, I think it's another 600K that they would give in the middle of the year. You have to hit certain milestones to access that, and those milestones would include having a league running, a women's league running, a girls league running, a boys league running, and a lot of the MAs find it would run into some challenges in getting all those different things up and running. So they would have some monies remaining in the kitty for some Emmys. So they wouldn't be able to access all of it.
It's kind of amazing just looking at this chart that the United States and Canada, they used up all of their monies. They're for the job
Yeah,
that you mentioned.
they're able to have leagues and leagues and leagues running.
Oh,
So
I see. Because I
it's
was saying that
easy
they
for
don't
them to
need it.
access all the money. Sorry?
I was saying that they don't need it, and they seem to be using all of it.
Well,
And we,
so yeah, you would. I mean, Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, $2 million extra per year. This is pocket change for them, but in the Caribbean, that's a lot of money. But in
Well,
these two member associations,
but how could we, because as the CFU, right? There's a lot of, you mentioned just now that they don't have the capacity. So Bahamas, for example, have 36% of their money, of their projects sitting there, right? They don't have the
right?
capacity. But if you look, if management would scroll through these pages, what you would see, there's something called capacity building.
yeah,
What is that? What is capacity building?
That's like different projects and programs. FIFA would have like marketing programs. They would have referees programs like the referees course and all these different things to build. It's mostly like administrative and refereeing type stuff would be capacity building.
So what I noticed in some of these is that capacity building, zero is spent on a lot of the
yeah.
region, and USA, for example, spent 750,000 in capacity building. Is that investment in the people that work there so that they
Yeah,
can?
that would be a people's investment. Part of it would be people's investment. Yeah.
Okay, so if you're investing in the people to improve their expertise, could that be helpful in giving us, to use the word you use, the capacity to get at more of that money that's available?
Sorry, repeat that.
So you said we don't have the capacity to get all of the money sometimes, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
if we're investing in the people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would that improve? Could that improve our ability, our expertise to be able to get at the money that's available?
Yeah, it can. There are different workshops and stuff that MAs could apply for from FIFA for assistance with different things. So it definitely could assist as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but to be fair though, of all the associations that we have here, which is Guyana, Canada, United States, Trinidad, Barbados, only the USA used money for capacity building because Canada didn't use any either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just to highlight that it.
yeah.
Just to be
There's went into competition.
right. So I can understand that, but what I find alarming is that in terms of travel and equipment, I mean, you'd think like the United States and Canada would probably spend more given the amount of travel the USA have, but they spend way less than all the other Caribbean because all the other the Caribbean islands mentioned here, they go over 10%. Barbados is 14.7 out of all that they got. The Guyana 14.7. Trinidad 14.3 in terms of travel and equipment, while Canada and the USA are under 5%.
So it's quite pretty easy to travel within the US and Canada, right? You're looking at it from probably at the size of the country, but take for example, let's look at the Caribbean perspective in terms of travel, right? Most times to get to a CONCACAF competition would be in the US, right? And you would have to fly up to Miami. To get to Miami, you obviously need visas for your various teams, all right? I
Okay.
think for the Eastern Caribbean, the only visa embassy, the US embassy is in Barbados, right? So for a team that has to go to the US, right, they have to pay for the entire team to go to Barbados overnight,
Right.
get their visa application approved
Mhm.
or denied,
Mhm.
right? Then head back to their country,
Mhm.
and then from there probably make a round the world flight to get to Miami. I remember just my personal travel was I to get from an island 14. last time I came to Jamaica, I had to go straight up to Miami and then come back down to Jamaica. From Guyana to Trinidad, I have to go straight up from Guyana, straight up to Miami, watch my house from on top of the plane, and then come back down. So it's a headache and a nightmare for travel in the Caribbean. So a lot of the monies for operations, mind you, is eaten up in travel.
Right.
And-
Come,
and-
come
and-
on, hold on, Andre, because I don't want to pass my time because I want
Yeah.
it to come back. It is
Yes.
past the time. So
Yeah,
I want,
I'll come back. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
yes, so I want to release it because I know what you
Right.
said. That man in his man, he kept me too long. I'm not going back. So your release, I'm going to have to end it abruptly, but I'd rather do that. I'd have you.
Let me say this before you say that. This is why we're doing this, and I appreciate you coming on to do this, because that last piece of the conversation in particular, a lot of people wouldn't know that. A lot of people
and
wouldn't
it's-
know. And when they hear about, obviously we can do a better job in our interaction with the business community, but when people hear about not having resources, sometimes they don't understand.
the
Somebody,
first thing that comes to the head is, oh, what they do with the money.
Yeah,
that we
yeah.
earn.
Exactly,
But
exactly.
yeah.
It's a different ball game when you're inside a
Yeah,
trying
because
to operate
that's what.
10 to 15 national teams,
Yes.
trying to participate in all the competitions there is. It's impossible.
Yes.
You can't
Yeah.
you can't do it.
But we
When
gotta
when
make-
you,
we
when you
gotta
just
make it
mentioned the
possible.
traveling thing, I just said that makes sense. Why
Yeah,
the
yeah.
USA and Canada are under, because they can travel everywhere with their passport. We have to
And
get visas.
even in Central America, they could take the bus and ride up to another country just like
Yeah.
that. So it's pretty easy for Central Americans as well. We are in a very unique place in that we have to take planes to the different islands, and then there's not enough plane servicing. So we always have to go from here and jump from there and spend a night here, and it eats up the budget.
Well, let's let you go, David, because we did agree for a particular amount of time. But if you can share, I saw it happen in Jamaica. If you can share with the people in the Caribbean, these conversations are helpful in having
Yeah.
people understand
No problem.
the challenges. So the more conversations, I saw it happen in Jamaica. It transformed Jamaican football, and now Mr. Speed and everybody else, Manning's able to get them on. The Gen Sec, and they explain what's going on, and I think it's making life much better. Am I right,
Yeah.
man?
Yes, certainly,
Yeah.
certainly.
Yeah, we could definitely chat again. I could see what's on for next week. And we could have a conversation.
And Miss Brand, if you could also, we'd love to talk
Yeah.
to you about. Yeah.
Sure thing. Sure
All right.
thing.
Okay,
All right,
man.
guys.
All
All right, thank you so
Thanks for
much,
having
man.
me.
Yeah, man, it was a pleasure.
All right.
No
Yeah,
problem.
except that next time you come, I want to see you in Arsenal. Just
You want to see me bareback on the stream?
No worry, we'll send you one.
All right,
All right.
guys.
Yeah, man,
All right,
take
take
care.
All right,
Good
take
having
care.
you. All right, so that was Camara David, General Secretary for the Caribbean Football Union. Andre, I'll let you. Very, very important conversation. Though it was concise, a lot was explained and better understood. But I think we need to. One of the things that I'd love to develop on is with the 2026 World Cup being held in CONCACAF.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be easier now to find sponsorship for a Caribbean Cup?
What I hear him saying, and he lectures at UE, and he lectures in strategic planning, and this is something that I understood, that if you involve the right stakeholders, right, then the financing part of it becomes a little bit easier. And I think if the CFU were to work with every other MA in terms of, because you can't find strategic plans for a lot of people, and one just have to assume that they don't have it, right? So if they would work together and try to create an energy, create an effort, point people in a direction, give people something to look at, then I think it makes a difference. Because a lot of times what I hear when when you listen to interviews from the island, the word hope comes up a lot. We hope this and we hope that. And hope is not really a strategy, right? Hope is not going to, you got to have a vision, you got to have a plan, and you got to implement it. So he seems to understand what needs to happen. I think the execution of it in each MA, I think, becomes significant. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, because and like I said, like some things I know, but because like Jamaica had 21 approved projects, but we had the largest from the teams that we have looked at, which is Trinidad, Barbados, Guyana, Canada, the United States. We had the largest amount left on the table.
Right. I'm not. I think we got to look at that a little bit different. Because on that category, it said what is approved and what is not approved as yet, right? So, is there?
So we had 37% of whatever left.
Right, that is unapproved, right? And it'd be interesting to find out what's the situation there, because I seem to it appears as though the investment in the people that work at the Federation on the US side is probably leading to the ability to get more of that money faster. I'm not sure, but that's what
Jamaica actually used $119,919 in capacity building.
Right. So you know who you have to call to find out about that.
Yeah, we used 204, and this is US, almost $250,000 US dollars in competition.
Right.
National team and subvention $250,000 US. There was no work. Headquarters project. There was some pitch project, which is, I think it is the Captain Horace Burroughs Center of Excellence. That they would have done that on. Yeah, nothing on beach soccer and stadium. So yeah, approved projects 21, 64% approved, 36% remaining is what it is saying. So yeah, interesting.
And that's just money that is, we're not even talking about revenue.
And people, this is US dollar. They hear not local currency we're talking about.
Right. And this has nothing to do with revenue from the business of football, right?
Yeah.
This is just money that FIFA gives to all the MA. So well, we try to get him back next week and see if we could dig a little bit deeper into.
Yeah, and also to hear from the person in charge of the Caribbean football for female, to see, because I think maybe we need to look at that. I understand the risk of sending. I do understand that there's a greater risk of probably sending young ladies across, but if you have adults who play for national teams, that's probably the way they can look at it. How do you? And maybe the member association, for example, Guyana may say we have 4 national players that we can, these are our top players. We want them to play competitively. They are the top local players. We have no competition. And reach out to persons wherever in Jamaica and Dominica and say, listen, do you have clubs that would at least look at them? Bring them in for a trial. We will pay for their travel, and we will send a stipend for them to be maintained, because it is important. Maybe that's part of the project for women's football that they need to take on, so they can build, like I said, capacity building, build the product, build their players.
And I believe that is happening with countries like Japan. They have players in Spain. Players go over there as young players.
Yeah, and they cover for them.
And some, and the player develop, and next thing you know, they're on the international stage. They're playing with Spanish clubs. So we probably could be a little bit more visionary, a little more innovative in the region.
Yeah.
When it comes to developing players. So
I see Zenat saying, Mannings, Montegigliani, will know a step outside of his master's interest. His mandate should be to further the fortunes and interests of Caribbean football. Mannings, no such thing is happening or will happen under his charge. Mannings, The CFU has lost its leverage. Brownings will have sealed that movement forward. The CFU will die as it no longer has any relevance. We need to pay attention to what
Well,
really happening to the CFU.
I mean, when you look at the strategic plan, right? Their goals is to qualify at least 2 teams to the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup, to qualify at least 3 teams to the 2026 FIFA Men's World Cup, qualify at least 1 team to every FIFA Youth World Cup, qualify 2 to 3 teams to the 2027 Women's World Cup,
Yeah.
and qualify at least 1 team to the FIFA Beach Soccer and Futsal World Cup. And they have the action steps that they need to take. Sometimes I don't know if the communication is happening so that people would be aware of what's taking place, because a lot of times if people are not hearing anything, they feel like it's dead. And the the pandemic has come and it's gone, and well, it's not gone, but the pandemic has come, and football is playing all around the world, so we need to figure that part of it out.
Yeah. But I mean, at least there are some. I mean, what we have heard is at least there is, like I said, there is encouragement. There is at least a strategic plan, which is where it all begins. It is now how to put that plan into action.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, at the end of the day, that's why I asked the question. When you look at though there's a CFU strategic plan, what is Jamaica's strategic plan? What is Trinidad's strategic plan? What is Barbados' strategic plan? What is Guyana's strategic plan? So I think that's what I was saying, that maybe a Camara David need to give the template for these different MAs to fill out and create their strategic plan. And there is an evaluation to see, all right, you have hit your short-term goals, and assess those things. And, and it should be public. It should be public because, like he says, it should be public, that people can know where the MA is going.
And for some reason, some MAs would say that they have one. We had Dion on the other night, and one of the things he said is that everybody comes in and they have their plan, and they leave, and then you can't find a plan. And he said he asked for a plan and he was told there's one, but he never saw it. So what is happening in all the different MAs around the region, I'm not sure what's happening, but I think it makes sense that if you have one, it's public. It was developed properly with the right people involved, and it's public. So people, I think it helps build trust.
Yeah. No, Zenat, I mean, like, let's see, because part of the discussion we're going to have is to have the Caribbean Cup back. Even if you use the locally based players, it is worth it. It is worth it. You don't have to wait on the Nation League. There can be a window where you play the Caribbean Cup. You play the Caribbean Cup. You do it like what you normally do. Nations play nations. And then when you get to the round of 8, you put them in 2 zones and they play somewhere. Bring them to Jamaica, Trinidad, somewhere. But we have to get the local based Caribbean players playing more. It also offers them the opportunity to be exposed to scouts and things. So if the players don't travel with the national team, they rarely get looked at. They really get looked at. And so we have to create these opportunities for more players to be seen by the big footballing clubs across North America and Europe.
But I think I heard Arsene Wenger said one time that in order to develop a player that is capable of playing at the highest level, you would have to play national football, regional football, and international football. Right? And is there football in the region at the moment?
Yeah, there's none.
The different age groups?
None. That's what I'm saying.
And in some islands there isn't any football. So it's a situation that needs to be improved soon, so that there could be opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah, but very good conversation. People, we're going to see if we can get some of those other persons on. Hopefully, we can get back Camara on next week to go through this. We have a lot more questions, a lot more things that I know you, the public, would like to know. We're going to ensure that we keep on providing you with the information, right? Right. So that's what we're going to do, Zena. The next part of the discussion is now, all right, how do we get there? How do we move from where we are to where we need to be? It's okay to have a plan, but what are the action steps? And what are the action steps we're going to implement to ensure that the plan comes to fruition? And that is the next step, right? And so that is what Andre and I, we hope to bring here, where people can be engaged. And we want to hear from other people from the Caribbean. This is not just Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica. It affects the entire Caribbean footballing landscape. And all of us need to participate in these discussions. And so we can challenge the leaders. I will say that one thing that has happened, and we have to commend the Jamaica Football Federation, but they came under immense pressure from just the public asking questions and challenging people, and more member association. All right. More member association need to do that. More persons need to do that. Put pressure on the leadership by vocalizing the concerns and also proposing solutions. And that's where we have to be. Mr. Porter out there in Canada says, why not use the Caribbean Cup as a predominant under 23 with 2 players over the age, a model of the Olympic football? Yeah, but you can do that. But a lot of, like, for example, when Kevin spoke, a lot of the national players for Trinidad are in Trinidad. They have a group there. We have a local base of Jamaican players who get called up for certain games that are based in Jamaica. They may be over 23. So people can select who they want. Maybe the member association will use under 23, but it should be open and you can use under 23, whatever you want. But it is giving you an opportunity to field players and to get them playing and being active, right? And which is important. So, Andre, I mean, the final word is yours. What say you? As we,
You know, I admire what you guys have done in Jamaica to get the football in public involved and engage the JFF and some of the changes that we have seen, and hope that. So I thank you for allowing this to happen, for making this happen, and I just hope that we could not hope, but I would like us to continue to do this and see if we can help the rest of the Caribbean to have the same discussion and bring about some of the same positive changes that you guys are now enjoying in Jamaica.
Yeah, man. And thank you so much. Very, very good. We look forward to having these conversations, and we want to see change, not just in Jamaica, but like you said, right across the Caribbean. Though we compete individually, if we are all better, it makes the competition a whole lot better. I want to thank every single one for tuning in, for joining. We have not done our EPL show. You know, the Arsenal fans are eager to hear that one. We're going to do it at some point this evening. All right, so look out for that one. It is coming. Stan Cranky is going to be around to be part of that one. So you Manchester United fans, you have a game 7:30 in the morning. You need to come and hear this one. And you City fans and you Liverpool fans and you fans of Chelsea who took Joe Felix and now you're feeling it. You understand me? But thank you again. Remember to hit the like button, to subscribe. If you have not yet, to I Am Sure Sports and I Am Sure Sports Caribbean. That's Andre right there, the Fortunet one, Andre Fortune. And this is the Mannings Man. You know, when it gets to this point, we say we are over and we are OUT. out of here.
Yo, watch about dog, SK New heard this. The body out there, Sniper King I represent for I Am Sure Sports. You get to me, I say, when you want the latest news and sports and updates and all of that, check out I Am Sure Sports. You know the thing goes in. Remember, you cover the whole island. Remember Kingston, Westmoreland, Galchester, Ocho-Rios, Galtigo Bay. Everywhere. I Am Sure Sports. Check it out for the latest news and latest updates. Sniper King I represent. Where them feel like? Ha, yeah. Someone on for the food from we young, from we day, you need height. I Am Sure Sports. Yeah, dog.